Welcome to another edition of Len's Burning Bush. I am Len Harvey. Before I bring on my guest for the week, I want to talk about what's really burning my bush. So welcome to season number 3. I can't believe it's been that long already. And New Year 2022. A very happy New Year to you and yours. I hope you have a great 2022. So one thing I wanted to discuss is New Year's, and of course already we're making these New Year's resolutions, and I wanted to educate you in this new year and why we even do these New Year's resolution. When did it start? Why do we make such a big deal out of ringing in the new year? I still haven't understood that over 50 years. I can't understand that, but I'm going to get into some of the details as to when it became, and it's not just from the modern age. You would think, because we're, so pretentious, but it is not from the modern age. It is going back some 4,000 years ago. Babylonians rang in the new year with an 11-day festival that happened in March. And ancient Egyptians celebrated the advent of the new calendar, and that was during the Nile River's annual flood. Imagine a flood annually. But again, by 46 BC, Julius Caesar got into the act, and he moved the first day to January 1st in honor of the Roman god of beginnings, Janus, an idea that took some time to catch on. However, in 1582, Pope Gregory the 13th brought the January 1st tradition back in vogue with the Gregorian calendar, which we use today. So very interesting to know. Now, the New Year's resolution actually occurred, again, back with the Babylonians, who reportedly made promises to the gods and hoped they would earn good favor in the coming year. They often resolved to get out of debt, which we all kind of do today. So what's the secret to actually keeping these New Year's resolutions, right? Why do some work and some don't, and a lot of people start, with their resolutions. They want to go to the gym, and they want to do all these things, and by February, they're pretty much out already. But it turns out simply wanting to change is not enough, right? They need a little bit more to make it stick, and one way to do this is to share your resolution with other people. And when you make your resolutions a secret, no one is going to check up on you, right? If it's just a secret, no one cares, right? You're only accountable to yourself. And that's according to Joe Ferrari, who's the professor of psychology at DePaul University in Chicago, and he knows a lot more than I do. And he says that a party to publicly share your resolution is an admirable way of bringing in the new year. Now, I'm not going to do that. I don't know if there's a drinking game involved with that, but that might work with it. But social media, of course, you've seen it. Everybody puts all their thoughts and everything in social media, some good, some bad, but that's another way of doing it. Now, once you've involved others in the resolution, what steps can you take to make sure? And of course, there's some advice from experts as to how you can have your success of your New Year's resolutions. Now, you can limit them. Don't go crazy. I mean, let's be honest. What is that? Under promise, over deliver is the way I would say. Make sure that you do that, because there's a few things to keep in mind, according to Michael Kitchens, assistant professor of psychology at Lebanon Valley College back in Pennsylvania. Now, it's tempting to make a list of to-dos, which can be, if you want to lose 10 pounds, some of us need to lose a little bit more than that by March 1st, or you want to save $50 each paycheck, something very small that you can do that. But please do not do the gym memberships, because the gym memberships are kind of what the problems are. You need to go gentle into that good night and not go that route. I'm not a fan of making any of them, but people seem to get caught up on these every year. One thing I noticed is everyone is always in a rush to start the new year, a new season, a new everything, a new season of Len's Burning Bush, right? Remember, new is not always better. Don't rush time. We only have a set number of days, and make the most of every day and enjoy your life. Make 2022 a great one by slowing down and smelling the roses. And of course, if you're allergic, then you can smell something else. A very happy and a healthy New Year to everyone, and good luck with those resolutions. I hope you can actually stick to it even after February the 1st. With that being said, it's time to bring on my guest for the week, and she is the current corporate communications director for Duke Energy, also former assistant news director at WLWT in Cincinnati. I've known her for a long time. Let's welcome Sally Thielen to Len's Burning Bush, and I'm going to put her on the big screen as we do the video as well to try to get her on here, and let's see if we can do that. We've got it on the video on YouTube, And now we've unmuted her, hopefully. And Sally, welcome and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. Thanks for having me, Len.
Well, I appreciate having you, and I just wanted to get your take before we get into the big story and big breaking news on this New Year's. We're gonna go to what I started with the rant was, and that's the New Year's resolutions and why people even think about it and why we even make New Year's such a big deal. Why? Explain to me. Educate me.
I have to say I'm excuse me, a little under the weather this week, but I'm not huge on resolutions. If I were to say I kind of had a goal, if you will, let's say goal, might be to drop another maybe 10 pounds or so by late spring. I liked your goal of March 1st. That makes it feel a little bit more doable and more realistic, but I don't know, a lot of hype. I think there's a lot of letdowns if you don't meet, something that you're putting out there. And I'm a little bit more low key about my goals. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I never really want to make goals, although, it's funny as I say this, and I'm busting everybody about the New Year's resolutions. I started to think because I went to the doctor at the end, you always take that 6-month physical. And as you get older, unfortunately, you start talking about ailments. That's pretty much what we do, right? We in our 20s, we never talked about that kind of stuff. But in our, you know what, I'm not going to mention. But what I was doing was trying to figure out, we have one of these bikes. Now, I don't know if you have a Peloton or you have any of those. We don't have a Peloton. We have a Peloton-like bike that we got, I think during the pandemic we got it, and it's basically a clothes hanger. So we're trying to figure out how we can use this bike, and I really do have to lose some weight. So we're trying to do a little bit better job, and I signed up for Apple's kind of fitness app. We'll see how this goes, right? But I'm not doing a goal where, hey, I've got to lose, I really should lose about 30 pounds, right? Would be a number that would be good. But I don't want to go too crazy. I'd be happy with 5, right? Because that's kind of the way, it's a start. But I'm just not big on making these. And everybody says, oh, they got to make goals and all this stuff for the new year. What happened last year? I feel like if you just kind of stay focused on whatever you're doing, it'll all come together, right?
I agree 100%. I actually started a diet last May, and I would say I was pretty good with it for a number of months, probably into the fall. And then I got to about the end of October and was like, all right, time to get into the holiday season. But I dropped a little over 20 pounds and was feeling very pleased with my efforts and exercise and eating better. And I think certainly my goal is to get back on track, now that we're putting the holiday season behind us. But, I didn't go crazy. I didn't blow a bunch, of bad habits over the holidays. And, frankly, I think with COVID, it slows everybody down, right? In terms of not maybe going to as many gatherings as you would have, or maybe as big. And so I'm certainly looking forward to 2022 and putting 2021 behind us.
Yes, exactly. And already now the other thing, before we get into the big story, one other last thing I wanted to do on the New Year's, and I've talked about this on previous episodes about New Year's. And one of the things that kind of you have to figure out is, like, today you can say Happy New Year, right? Whether it's the 2nd or 3rd or 4th, you could still say Happy New Year. But when is the deadline for that? If you and I don't talk, if we didn't talk and do this episode, and I talk to you on February 2nd, it's too late to say Happy New Year at that point, isn't it? When is it too late? What is the cutoff for you?
I'm going to go January 10th.
I think you're right. I think, even in business, I guess if I have a conversation with a client on the 17th, technically you could say Happy New Year, but the 10th is a good idea there. So I'm gonna go with what you said, because I think
you modify it to, hey, how's your New Year's going?
Yeah, you could change it a little bit. Well, 2021 was, it was what it was. We thought we were going to have a big 100th to start the 2022, and we lost a treasure. And I feel like, I've done this on previous episodes. We were promoting her 100th birthday, and I wasn't the one who killed Betty White, but apparently People magazine had a cover that says Betty White turns 100. And unfortunately, she didn't make it. She died on New Year's Eve on Friday, and 99 years young. she would have loved it to just give the FU to everybody, you know, but she wanted to, this 100th birthday party was a big deal. And apparently they're still having the television show, but we lost Betty White. Just a tremendous, I don't know about you, but I was watching a lot of the clips of stuff she did in Golden Girls and every other. She was just brilliant in everything she did.
My mom loved Golden Girls for sure. I would say, you know, one of my, I guess, more recent films she was in was The Proposal with Ryan Reynolds.
Yes.
And she just had so many one-liners, and she was a hoot in that. And obviously, I'm sure you watch as I do with, you know, pop culture, that he completely adored Betty White.
There was a comedian who tweeted on it that basically said that Betty was one of the few people I think that we actually told we loved her before she died, as opposed to after, right?
Very true.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of nice tweets. I mean, she was, you know, it's interesting, her true love. I mean, she never married again after Alan Ludden, and that was husband number 3. Alan Ludden was the host of Password. I don't know if you remember that going back, because you're not as old as I am. But
you're the game show guy, right?
Absolutely. He was the host of Password and then Super Password. And Betty was, of course, on all of those shows. She was on Match Game. She did all of the shows. She actually, there is an episode where everybody should go watch, now that unfortunately she's passed away, but she was on The Odd Couple with her husband, Alan Ludden, and that was the Password episode with Felix and Oscar, where he says Aristophanes. It's a great episode. Go back and watch The Odd Couple, Password. But Alan Ludden and Betty White make an appearance as themselves. And it's a tremendous episode. But yeah, she was married, and Alan unfortunately died. He died, I think, in 82 or something like that. He was on, he was a young guy, had cancer, and he died. But she never remarried. It's amazing. That was so long ago. And something I read about her recently in the last day or so was that she was living in a house in Brentwood, but she died in a house she didn't feel like she wanted to live in. She wanted to be in the house that her and Alan built in Carmel.
Yeah.
So
I read that.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting. But she would have turned 100 on January 17th. And, talking about that, getting that close to 100. I know George Burns, I think, made it to 100, right? Bob Hope.
I think they were right there.
Right at the cusp. And I don't think he made it past there much after that. But it's a tough thing. I don't know if we probably had this conversation before. It feels like, deja vu. But I just don't know if I'd want to even go that far. If I'm good, if you're not feeding me applesauce, I think maybe I would want to go that far to 100.
If it's independent living for the most part, and I have my faculties about me and general physical ability to do day-to-day activities and take care of myself, I'd probably be game. But if it's much less quality of life beyond that, I don't think I'd sign up for that.
No, I totally agree with you. And I think that, again, it's a shame, they had the 100th birthday party set up. Ryan Reynolds tweeted, "The world looks different now. She was great of defying expectation. She managed to grow very old and somehow not old enough. We will miss you, Betty. Now you know the secret." Because Ryan, there was a whole to-do of the relationship with Ryan Reynolds, and he was playing it up. And after the proposal, I don't know if you saw the other the takes or something they did, but Sandra Bullock saying the F word many times, and having there's a video of Betty where he basically says that Betty, F Betty White or something, and she's like, you're not going to bring me coffee? You're not going to bring me coffee? I mean, like the assistant, right? You were a very bad assistant.
Yes.
Betty, I've been in the Star with you. I'm not your assistant. I play it. So it was so well done. And then Sandra Bullock, who, this is my movie. No one knows who Ryan Reynolds is, but they know Betty White. You see the poster? The poster's
Yes.
of me. The poster's not of you. We don't know who Ryan Reynolds is. That's just brilliant. But the show will go on for her 100th birthday on January 17th. The flick was scheduled to play in movie theaters for just that one night. It will still proceed as planned, as producers told the New York Post, and it's a real good theaters to be packed in capacity. But People magazine, there is going to be another. I think they're redoing the cover on this, but I have the one that turns 100. I don't know if this is going to be worth anything, but I might keep it.
You never know.
Exactly. The fact that she would have turned 100, but People Magazine should they've got blood on their hands. They killed Betty White.
Wow.
And that's, I always thought this is crazy, but I thought there would be two certainties in life, that if the world were going to end tomorrow, there would be Keith Richards and Betty White. But I only got one of the two left.
Yeah. God only knows how long the next one will last, right?
Well, Keith Richards has done enough drugs. I mean, maybe that's what's kept him alive. I just, I think he's been dead for 20 years and nobody's told him.
It's kind of like Weekend at Bernie's during this.
Just pop. I think we should, somebody pointed up that we should have a holiday on January 17th every year, Betty White Day or something like that. We should really,
nice.
That'd be good. Or we could, the fact that she died on New Year's Eve, we should raise a glass. That would be a better New Year's celebration than the current setup we've got now with the stupid New Year's Rockin' Eve, with the ball dropping Ryan, did you watch any of it?
I watched a little bit of it. I have a daughter that I had on New Year's. So
Yes.
We kind of always have a New Year's Eve party for her birthday. So, didn't have a big gathering this year, but we were flipping around on the TV and kind of catching bits and pieces of some of the coverage.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds, listen to me. I've got Ryan Reynolds on my mind. But Ryan Seacrest has taken over for this, and it's getting very tired. I think they should go back and just take Dick Clark and just replay 1970s. And then, you can theoretically do it. It would make it easier, and it would be a lot better. They try to do so much, and with the Times Square and the ball dropping, I think it's gotten to the point where it's getting very tired. But now that Betty White, maybe we have something new to celebrate on New Year's Eve, the passing of Betty White.
Maybe they could put her image on the ball dropping.
Well, that's not a bad idea either. Look at this. We're thinking on this, and we're thinking a little bit. Now, one thing that happened in the last week or so was that Wheel of Fortune, basically ruined somebody's hopes of winning a car. Well, it wasn't their fault. They have rules. The woman, Charlene Rubbish, she made it to the final round, and she wanted to read she didn't read the correct answer in full. She got the last part of the answer at the end, and the buzzer went off, but she never said the full phrase. And I guess that got everybody in social media up in arms. And then Audi said, you know what? Screw it. We're going to give away the car anyway. So, again, mediocrity in life, but no, I'm just
hey, that's the power of social media nowadays. Unfortunately, things can go quickly and spread like wildfire, and Audi was smart. Somebody in their marketing department took the bait and said, hey, let's make good on this. And they came out on top.
Now, Wheel of Fortune does allow for a pause, but a little pause, not 4 to 5 seconds. And I think that's what got her. So Pat Sajak, it's not their fault, Wheel of Fortune. But I always thought that Wheel of Fortune has been very cheap over the years. And the reason I say it, back when the original show aired, I don't know if you remember, but they always had you had to buy stuff in the original one with Chuck Woolery, and then it later became, see, my game show knowledge is really bad. The original,
you buy a vowel or
you had to buy a vowel, but Chuck Woolery was the original host with Susan Stafford on the daytime version, and then later Pat Sajak and Vanna White. So it's been Pat Sajak and Vanna White for many years, 40 years. But the big thing was it originated where you would get your prize money, you would go buy stuff, and then the rest of it you'd for like $100, I'd like the yellow comb. They would go, and then the rest I'll put on a Gucci gift certificate. I'm going back but anyway, they have not really upped the ante. Every year they give you $1,000 more on the wheel. They do the $39,000 for the year, and it'll be $40,000 next year. But my point is, I used to watch game shows growing up, and there was Match Game and some others that were doing $25,000 in the 80s. And here,
right.
Yeah, Price is Right, exactly. And I know that they make it so much easier now, where they give you the most of the letters, and then you come up with others, and then you got these idiots trying to figure out what the puzzle is. But it's just kind of interesting that all this time, and they're giving away $39,000. Now, Jeopardy has a set, where you could win as much as you win, right? and it's all cash, and there's no prizes, and you just kind of do it. And we've got a current champion who's lasting forever here and making a bunch of money. But in Wheel of Fortune, you're only allowed one time, and these people walk away. No, again, no slouch. I would take it. I'm sure you would too. $60,000 or something like that. But I mean, come on, Wheel of Fortune. I mean, the I don't know. Do you watch it at all, Sally? Or
I sometimes do. I would say I'm more of a Jeopardy person, honestly, but I do. I had read this week that Pat Sajak was celebrating his 40th year with the show, and it wasn't recognized, widely enough, I think, by a lot of, guess what, social media was picking on the show, saying, why didn't you do a bigger deal for him? So you never know. Maybe he'll get a big celebration after all.
Yeah, I think so. It's kind of, but again, getting back to the show, I think they need to do a better job. The one thing that burns my bush on Wheel of Fortune is the $1 million wedge. And the way it works is you get the $1 million wedge. If you land on bankrupt, it goes away. But you have to get to the final round with that $1 million wedge. And also, once you're in the final round, you still have to spin the stupid wheel to find out if you hit that million. And then if you guess the puzzle, then you have to see if you got the million. My thing is if you make it to the end with that $1 million wedge, don't spin the wheel. Give them the $1 million, or at least give them a guarantee of 100,000.
I like that.
Or 150, something like that, because it's so hard to keep that $1 million because there's so many bankrupts on the wheel. There's so many things that could happen. There's those quick puzzles, and again, too many things. You
might need to reach out to their executive producer, Len.
I think so. The one guy got fired. The guy that was on Jeopardy. There's a new guy now, but anyway, I know. I think I need to, because there's so many changes that I would make for the sake of, because they've got so much money. Come on. There is no reason why they can't give away, or at least let the person win more than just the one day. Maybe you could bring them back.
Yeah, that's an idea.
They give hope to all these people. I like the people that don't get anything, and then they wind up with $1,000. It's pretty much the sorry prize from Pat.
Yep.
Well, anyway, Wheel of Fortune. Maybe they'll step up their game a little bit, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to keep doing what they do because it works, right? It works for them, and everybody seems to like it. Now, I'm going to get into something where I think you like. I am going to talk about coffee. Now, Sally, are you a coffee person in the morning?
I'm totally a coffee person. I would say no day goes by that I don't drink coffee unless I'm not feeling well. And I will tell you, after the past week, I've had coffee once. But I miss my coffee, but I've been drinking a lot of tea just to kind of help my voice.
Well, I don't blame you, because tea is one of those things with a little bit of honey, maybe a little bourbon, something to get you back to, because we find comfort in things like chicken soup is another one that we find. Tea is another one. And the other thing is ginger ale for your stomach. You do not order ginger ale at a place. You don't go to the restaurant and say, I'd like a ginger ale, please. Usually if you're on an airplane, it's the only other time that you order ginger ale. And I always wondered why, and then I realized it's just because it's just kind of nice. Your stomach, feels good if you're flying. But yeah, you will see that most people order a ginger ale on the plane, but I don't see people, I don't see ginger ale ever selling out in the Kroger.
Kind of like Fresca.
Yes, Fresca was a very pleasant taste. It's kind of bubbly, and yes.
We were reintroduced to Fresca this past summer, I'll tell you, at the beach. Fresca and tequila.
Oh.
It's different. It's refreshing.
What's that song? When I sip tequila.
Yeah. Yes.
And then there's another one where tequila makes my clothes come off, which nobody wants to see that. And there's a couple of drinks that nothing good comes from, usually. And tequila is one, alcohol, and the other one is Fireball. That's kind of like the new tequila. Fireball, there's like bad things happen when you take shots.
You buy buckets of Fireball shots nowadays.
Oof. Yeah,
those little mini bottles.
Let me tell you, not good.
I have college age kids, let's just say, and I've seen a lot of Fireball in my days with these younger kids.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where everyone makes the same face when they drink tequila, or if they drink Fireball, or even Goldschlager. It's got the same face. It's like, ugh. But after you take the shot, right? It's that same face when you make the shot of tequila. I don't know why people go back to it. It's like there'll be people on New Year's Day recovering from all the shots that we had on New Year's Eve. But it's just why do you do that to yourself? Why?
I'll tell you, yesterday, New Year's Day was a first for me. I didn't have a Bloody Mary.
Wow.
That means I had a really dull New Year's Eve.
You did? Well, yes, you did. You had a very rough New Year's Eve, and I'm sorry for that. But getting back to my coffee, I wanted to bring this up because I know you like coffee. You have a special coffee, I think, that you wind up getting, isn't it?
I do. Yeah. It's roasted Southern pecan. You've got to try it sometime. But I'll tell you, it's not easy to find. I got turned on to this flavor of coffee from someone I work with. One afternoon, I went in their office and I was like, what in the world am I smelling? And she's like, it's my coffee. And I said, what do you have? And she said, roasted Southern pecan. I'm like, I got to try it. So she gave me a pod. I brought it home, tried it, instantly loved it. Pecans for me bring back a memory of childhood. My mother loved making pecan pies. We'd get pecans from Georgia, every year brought up that were fresh and shelled. And they were amazing that we, bake with over the holidays. So when I smell pecans, I instantly think of my mother, who's not with us anymore. But I went and I said, where do you get this? She's like, oh, just Kroger. So I start buying it. I'm down with it, loving it for about 6 months. And I start seeing it disappearing from the shelves. So Kroger doesn't stock it anymore, which is where I do my grocery shopping. And I've had to resort to buying it on Amazon now, which you can get into the, fight or flight mode. If, oh no, I look in my box and I only have 3 or 4 left, that means panic sets in. So you should try it, though. It's very good.
I am going to try it. It sounds wonderful. I'm a butter pecan, and I like all kinds of pecan stuff. And now I have a question. In the movie Harry Met Sally, he says pecan pie.
I'm listening to you. You're saying pecan. I say pecan.
Yeah. Butter pecan. Butter pecan. I mean,
butter pecan.
You say potato, I say potato. I'm from Jersey. That's
exactly.
It's a kind of
say it that way.
Yeah, exactly. But so coffee is one of those things where I wound up making one of the purchases. I like coffee as well in the morning, and we had the original. We used to make the pot of coffee, right? Remember the Mr. Coffee?
Oh my God! Yeah, absolutely.
There was a scene in the new Sex and the City where she has to go back to her apartment. I don't want to ruin anything for anybody, but they've got she had a Mr. Coffee thing in there, and she tried to work it, and it was a total disaster. So you have to go buy coffee at that point. But the Mr. Coffee, then people, we got to the Keurig, and then Keurig had a combination where you could do the pods and the full pot. You can do those, and then I decided I was in one of my favorite stores, Williams-Sonoma, and they sell you in that store, man. They make stuff for you. They make you a cup of coffee, and how did you make this? And they make it in this Nespresso coffee maker. And George Clooney sold me on it, right? Sophia.
Gotta like George Clooney, and who doesn't love an espresso?
I mean, it's fantastic. But the problem I have is that these coffees are so expensive. Like we wound up, I think we get an order delivered from Nespresso, although they said they delivered one on New Year's Eve and it never came. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, you do what you do with what coffee you like, and you get it delivered, but you have to order it through Nespresso because it's like over like $1 something a coffee now, where the whole idea was we were going to save money by drinking at home, and eventually it's going to be almost as much as going to Starbucks, but at least you're at home doing it.
You can make amazing drinks, though. I mean, we've got a Keurig, obviously, and we have the Nespresso. And my 22-year-old daughter, I kid you not, could be a barista. She makes drinks coming out of the Nespresso that are amazing. And we actually found you can buy, this was recent as well, so I knocked on Kroger for not carrying my Southern Pecan anymore, but they're now carrying pods that work in the Nespresso machine that are made by Starbucks. So kind of a win-win, but we love the Nespresso machine, and we've got the frother, and you can make cold coffees, hot coffees, and frothy milk and foam. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I never thought I'd use the frother, but I didn't even know what that was. I was not a barista, So it's kind of interesting. Now, the reason I bring up coffee today is because apparently there's a study that suggests that it has significant long-term health benefits. A 2018 study of 500,000 British adults, they had to go to Britain for this, but over a decade showed that coffee drinkers were 10% to 15% less likely to die from any cause than non-drinkers. So this is good, but they say everything in moderation. Don't drink 7 cups of coffee a day. 2, 3, that's enough.
I'm a 1 cup to 2 cup.
Yeah. Well, I wonder too, is like people drink like the taste of coffee so much that they drink decaf. It's kind of like non-alcoholic beer. I just don't understand the decaf. It's kind of that way when you drink a non-alcoholic beer. Now, if you're obviously an alcoholic, you have to drink non-alcoholic beer, but coffee is one of those flavors. Now, tastes and even smells. So there's nothing better than like bacon smell, and there's nothing better than coffee brewing. Those are two of the most awesome smells in the world. Bacon. Yeah.
We keep decaf here, but not for anybody that just routinely would drink a decaf coffee in the morning. My husband is a little bit affected by caffeine after a certain hour, let's just say.
Yeah.
So I'm somebody that loves a good Irish coffee or a nice coffee drink in the winter if it's, super cold out, and just have a nice, drink at night. I give him a decaf pod and I make mine with regular. I could drink a shot of espresso at 11 and be asleep by midnight.
Oh.
Caffeine does not affect me when it comes to sleep.
Well, good. And your husband, will like this because a smaller study from Stanford University suggests that people who drink caffeinated coffee, but not decaf, live longer. Yes, it says. So he'll have you around for a long time. Perhaps the caffeine counteracts naturally.
For him.
Yeah, naturally occurring inflammation, apparently. So that's the coffee story. But we like coffee. So I was getting back to that bacon and the coffee smell. So bacon lives up to its fame. The smell and the taste are exactly the same.
Bacon makes everything better.
But coffee is one of those things where it's an acquired taste. Not everybody likes coffee. And the smell is so wonderful that it can't live up to the hype. And it really doesn't. Unless, it depends on what you've got in it. Like maybe your, pecan or whatever we want to call it. Maybe that is what lives up to the smell. But I had coconut coffee the other day in the Nespresso, which was quite good. I like coconut. Yes. Very tasty. But that smells good. Again, the two best smells, bacon and coffee. As you make everything smell like that, and we'd be all good. Now, you were a former news person with WLWT. You worked as an assistant news director. Now you're handling corporate communications for Duke Energy, and that's got to be harder than your news director job, I would imagine.
It's different. I like to say I grew up at Channel 5 and loved my job there and have a lot of great friends and acquaintances there. I actually went out to dinner last night late, kind of a spur of the moment decision to go out at about 8:00, and ran into a reporter at Channel 5 that was leaving to head out to Seattle. So ran into him and one of the photographers and his girlfriend. And, it's always so good to run into, former people that I know. And certainly I admired Dan, who's heading out west. But, TV was an interesting job, and I liked it for the variety. It was different every day. So when I went to Duke, it will be 13 years this coming April. And so I left, and I feel like I just left news, but I was kind of worried, is it going to be boring? Am I going to not, like having a variety, of things to be doing? And I have to tell you, it's been a really exciting job. It's certainly a challenging industry to get to understand the technology aspects. It's very complicated and complex, as you would imagine. It's a whole different world than the news business, but I still get my breaking news rush. I get to go, cover storms for the company. I've been to Florida and the Carolinas for hurricanes, for ice storms, snow, you name it. And certainly I get to feel like I'm a little bit back in the news grind when we have things like that occur. And it's it gives me my little boost. I think that you can take the girl out of the newsroom, but you can never take the newsroom out of the girl, is something we say around here a lot. So, I fondly reflect on all of my experience at Channel 5, and certainly miss a lot of my colleagues. But at least in my role at Duke, I do get to see them a lot when they interview me for things happening at Duke. So it's kind of a win-win.
It is a win-win, and it is because of you that we have the news team of Mike Dardis and Cherie Polello. Not Mike, but definitely Cherie. You were the reason Cherie came back to Cincinnati, right?
I did. I definitely lured her. She was in North Carolina. She had been in Dayton and went to Charlotte. And I said, you've got to come back here. And we really kind of talked for a while before we even had an opportunity to bring her in to interview. And I feel like we just kind of clicked from the beginning when, we met and started talking and pursuing her. And I couldn't have been happier when she came. And she is the type of employee that is a joy to have work for you. She works hard. She's dependable. You could call her anytime for any kind of news, and she was there and she was ready. And I gravitated towards folks that had a strong work ethic, like I believe I had. And she's just a superstar. So I've loved watching her thrive, and certainly seeing her find love again. And with Mike, it's just been really special. I couldn't be more happier for her, and she is so happy. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful, and the fact that they even wanted to come on this show makes it even more beautiful for me. They both came on twice, and just on so thanks to Cherie and Mike. You can go back and listen to those episodes as well on Len's Burning Bush. Can you believe, Sally, this is 91 episodes of Len's Burning Bush? Who would have thought it?
That's amazing. And you started right as the pandemic was starting, right?
I bought my first microphone in April of 2020. It was kind of a story. I ordered the microphone kit from a website who I'm not sponsored by them, but Sweetwater. That was originally there's a company in Fort Wayne, Indiana. They do a lot of audio, and they're more for guitar and bands. But I ordered a podcasting kit because I always wanted to do this. And it was delayed. It wasn't their fault. It was just coming from overseas. And at that time, you couldn't get anything overseas. It was really tough. So I ordered this kit, and I was waiting for it. And I was like, let me go ahead and try to get a microphone. So I went to Best Buy, and I got a USB microphone. I plugged it into the computer. I set it up, and I did 12-minute rant on Easter. It was on Easter of 2020. And I called it Eastover. It was the combining of Passover and Easter, and just how I did a 12-minute and that whole thing. And the show was born, and I've been trying to keep up with it every week. And I bring on great guests like yourself to come on and talk about things that irritate me. It doesn't get any better than that.
You say Easter of 2020 and you reflect on starting a podcast. You know what I remember of Easter of 2020? We had a crazy storm, and I had to go work, and it was at the beginning of the pandemic when we were wearing masks, and I'm out in the field trying to do media interviews, socially distanced, and that was at such the beginning point of it that it was one of those things where everybody was fumbling around trying to figure out how to do it, and how to do it looking responsible yet being able to talk through a mask. It was a learning thing for sure.
Absolutely, and it really is. This podcast has helped me get through all of this, because I think about nothing other than the next episode or, work, or it has got me to clear my head. And I talked about the doctor, going to the doctor. They ask in the doctor's office now, they ask you if you are depressed. And I'm like, absolutely not. I said, the podcast is what, it saved me going to therapy. It has been so good for me.
That's true.
And what's even better is, I don't know, again, I bring on a lot of friends. I'm blessed to have a lot of friends in the business, and friends that are not in the business that I've brought on. But what is great about it is the getting back together with people that I haven't been close with, do the episode with them, and all of a sudden now I'm back in touch with them, or even people that have been on the show that I didn't even know before I interviewed. And now I'm friends with, we text together, and it's really built up a lot of good things for me. So regardless of anybody else, whether they listen or not, this is good for me. And that's the kind of,
Congratulations, for sure.
Well, thank you, Sally. And you can like Lens Burning Bush on Facebook at Lens Burning Bush. You can follow along at Lens Burning Bush on Twitter. I post everything on the YouTube channel now where you're seeing us now. As well, you can listen on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Podbean, iHeartRadio, TuneIn. You can even ask Alexa to play Lens Burning Bush, but make sure you say Lens Burning Bush Podcast, because a lot of people don't understand the meaning of Lens Burning Bush. A lot of people don't understand it. It is just things that bother me. It is not religious, and it is not pornographic. So,
well, thanks for having me on today. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Sally Macy. And I wanted to bring this up. So I had Blue Jelly up here, and they're a local band in Northern Kentucky. They do a great job, and they came on my show back in February. And it wasn't the best audio quality when we did the show, because I'm working on that now that I've got the streaming capabilities and other stuff that I'm doing and a board. But I was able to record a little bit of the song they played for me about Lens Burning Bush, and I wanted to play it. If people haven't heard it, it might be my new theme song.
How can we dance when our earth is burning? How can we sleep while the bush is burning?
Is that a Midnight Oil song
How
originally?
can we dance when our earth?
Yeah, it is a Midnight Oil song. We don't want to say that because then we have to give the rights to them. but Blue Jelly played the song, and how can we sleep when Lens Bush is burning? And that is, they did a nice job with it. Blue Jelly. They are all over the place. They're in Northern Kentucky. Some people saw them New Year's Eve and went out, but you can see them. I'm sure they'll be on the show again. But I'll have them re-record it. But I've got this new fancy board now where I could play stuff, and that's kind of where it's kind of cool to be able to do that. But thanks to Blue Jelly for my new theme song. How can we sleep when Lens Bush is burning? Well, thank you, Sally Thielen. I'm Len Harvey. We'll be back with another episode of Lens Burning Bush next week. So long.